I can kind of empathize with the person asking this question.
That's just something that I envision doing with the kids when they're a little bit older.
And I came to the conclusion that we could not get married.
If he cooked dinner, I feel like we might die. Hi guys, welcome back to another video. If you are new here, my name's Alora and this is my husband, Kyle. We are doing part 2 of this Q&A. I will have part 1 linked down below if you haven't seen that yet. We have a lot of questions to answer, so let's dive right in. How many kids do you plan on having? And I know we have said in multiple videos in the past that we plan on having 3 kids.
We settled on 3 because, well, that's what my family was 3 kids, and then Alora's family was 4 kids. So when we were dating, she was partial toward 4, but ended up deciding 3 would work out better anyway. So that's what we ended up settling on. My dad is an accountant, so he's a very numbers guy, and he was always telling me, like, well, 3 is actually financially, if you want to think about the money part of it, the better number than 4, because you can have everybody in the same hotel room, and you don't need another room, and more cars fit 3 kids and stuff like that. So he had this whole spiel about that. Not that that was the reason why we settled on 3. But for me, when I was just thinking about my life and stuff and how many kids, I guess I had always envisioned about 3. Not that it was necessarily a hard and fast rule for me, but that's, I mean, if you asked me how many kids do you want when I was younger, the default answer would have been 3. So that's part of why we settled on the number 3.
Yeah, and like for me, I was still kind of on the fence when we got married if I wanted 4, and then I experienced pregnancy for the first time, and that really that did bring my number down to 3 because my pregnancies are not easy. I would say the beginning, they're just, and I don't think for really any woman it's easy in the beginning, but it was brutal in the beginning. We are very much in agreement on 3, and like when I picture our family, I always picture 3 kids, and that just brings me a lot of peace thinking about that. How did you and Kyle decide you were ready to start a family? Honestly, I think there were things that just got checked off of our list of all the things we wanted to accomplish before having kids.
And one of the big things that we wanted to check off was having a place of our own, not renting, but actually owning a home. So home ownership was one of those key metrics for us before we were deciding we wanted to have kids. Mostly because in my mind, I was thinking if we had kids now, then the odds of us getting home ownership were going to decrease, or at the very least, it was going to take us longer to get there. So I figured if we got that first, then we could focus on that next. And we have a video talking about us getting our home and stuff like that. And so that all ended up working out really well. That was the driving metric. Once that happened, then it was like, when should we start? So.
Yeah, we bought the home, we fixed it up, and a month later we got pregnant. Do you celebrate Halloween? And just like the quick short answer is no.
Yeah, we don't celebrate Halloween. We do let the kids eat candy. Laura's family has a little mini,
we call it like a harvest festival.
Yeah, you could call it sort of like a trick or treat thing, but it's only in their house and stuff, and the kids just go from room to room.
Yeah, so I guess just to kind of give a little bit more detail on that, I have younger siblings that still live with my parents, but they're older. Does that make sense? Like teenagers. And so all the grandkids will come to my parents, and they can dress up as something that God created. So it literally could be like an animal, a person, whatever. And then they'll go from like my sister's room, grab some candy, then they'll go to my brother's room, grab some candy, and my parents' room. And that's just how we do Halloween, but we don't call it Halloween. We call it the Harvest Festival. We don't want to expose our kids to the horror that comes with Halloween, which is, demons and ghosts and all the scary things. That's our alternative. to that. How much does it actually cost per year to raise a child? And this person who's asking is actually expecting their firstborn in November. So congratulations. That's really exciting. But to answer your question, I feel like that will be different for everyone. Everyone leads different lives. They have different lifestyles. They live in different areas. So cost of living is very different. And honestly, I don't have like a number. Like I don't think we really keep track of how much we spend on our kids. We just get them what they need. But I would say that number is going to be different for everyone.
It's definitely not going to be what you find on the internet though. I know on the internet and the different studies and stuff, they'll say some studies say it's 300,000, some say it's $500,000 to raise a kid from birth to 18. But when you look into those kinds of studies, you have to also pay attention to the fact that some of those studies include helping pay for your kids' student loans. That could include sending your kids to daycare, and that could include buying new clothes. So you have to consider the fact that a lot of those things that go into those numbers are not realistic, because that's somebody who is not being frugal at all. They're just buying everything brand new and with the most convenience possible. The numbers you see online are not realistic, that's for sure. It does make me think about my own personal experience when we were getting married. I did a lot of Googling about what was the average electric bill, what was the average gas bill, what was the average grocery bill, what was the average, down the line. And I came to the conclusion that we could not get married because I wasn't going to be able to afford for us to live together in a home. And on my $29,000 a year salary, even with her working and stuff, I think there's no way the math will work with these averages I'm finding on the internet. And I do remember that I think Laura went and talked to her dad about it. And her dad was like, oh, we made, when him and my mother-in-law got together, they made way less than what we were making, and they still got by. So it was kind of like a little bit of a comfort thing that other people have done it before, and some of them have done it on less. I think about my own dad. He worked at a grocery store full-time and going to college part-time to be an accountant. And I was on the way, and they still made it through. So that was a helpful confidence boost that like, okay, we can do this. And it all ended up being fine. We ended up doing just fine in the end. And all those averages I was looking at were not close to what it actually was for us. So when I can kind of empathize with the person asking this question, because that's the kind of direction I go. I look up all the numbers and check the averages, and then check the averages again, and then check a different website, and get really familiar with it. But you have to really understand that those numbers aren't always going to be accurate, or in most cases I would say are not going to be accurate, especially like Laura was saying. It depends on your area, and it depends on your lifestyle. It depends on a lot of things.
Absolutely.
Because when you combine all those together, then you're going to get your actual number. We had this conversation again when we were bringing Caspian along. I asked, how much do you think this is going to increase our expenses bringing in a third person into this family, because we had gotten comfortable with just the two of us. It ended up being a lot less than I thought it would be, because first of all, again, this is not something that every woman can do, but Laura breastfed, so we saved a lot in the baby formulas and things like that. I know that's not an option for everybody, but that ended up being an option for us. Then we had a baby shower, and a lot of people gave a lot of stuff. In fact, we didn't even use all the stuff that they gave us, so that should also show you that it ends up not being as much as you think it would be for a kid. And then we also had a diaper party. That might be something that you might want to consider, because I do know that when the guys were doing the diaper party and the girls were doing the baby shower, those diapers lasted a whole year, maybe more.
Yeah, much Caspian's entire first year, like we had diapers. So yeah, if you are about to have a baby or will be, like to have a diaper party, you will thank yourself.
Oh yeah, if you invite enough people and everyone just brings one pack of diapers,
Oh,
you
yeah.
would be amazed at how long that can last. Of course, make sure everybody's picking different age ranges, not all
The
infant.
sizes.
Yeah, because if everyone does infant, then yeah, you're gonna grow out of it real quick. But the point that I'm getting to is that it's actually not going to be as much as you think it will, and it really comes down to just how you plan to live with this new family member in your life. Do you intend to do daycare? If you do, you're going to spend more money than us on your kid. That's going to happen. If you have to do baby formula, then you'll probably spend a little bit more than we did on your kid. If you forego the baby shower or the diaper party, then yeah, you're probably going to spend a little bit more than we are as well. So those are factors that come into play that will affect it a lot.
I was wondering how you motivate yourself to get ready, as in picking out an outfit, styling hair, etc., every day as a stay-at-home mom. I need tips. So I would say having a routine and having a really good morning routine is like, I guess, what motivates me. Like getting out of bed and just washing my face. And then after I wash my face, get dressed. After I get dressed, then I do my hair. Like having these rituals that I do every single day and just keeping true to them is pretty much what motivates me. And I would say if you don't have a morning routine, try to establish one that works for you. What are your plans for your 5th anniversary? For our 5th anniversary, we are going to Milwaukee just to experience the city. We've both never been to Milwaukee, so it'll be our first time being in the city. We've already booked our Airbnb, which is really nice to have, set and ready to go. We're going to be, walking the downtown, eating lots of food, going to lots of entertainments. I have no doubt we'll do an escape room because that's just what we love doing. We're gonna be there for a full-on week, which is the longest we've ever been away from our kids, but they're gonna be in good hands. They're gonna be with my parents, getting spoiled, I have no doubt, and all the sugar will probably be served to them as well.
We'll also probably take a day trip to Madison,
Oh, that's right.
Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and see the Capitol.
How do you and Kyle divide household tasks?
I would say that the household tasks are usually just divided based on need. I wouldn't say there is necessarily a chore list or anything like that. We're not that regimented, so it's more based on whatever the need is. Like recently we had an overwhelming amount of laundry, so it ended up being that both of us were doing laundry, I think it was yesterday, for that. So it really does depend. Then there's dishes, so sometimes I'll end up having to do dishes, or I may just unload the clean ones and Alora loads the dirty ones, or maybe it's the other way around. Some things, though, that are a bit more regimented, meaning that they're pretty consistent, is we both divide and conquer when it comes to putting the kids to bed. So usually I'm the one taking care of Caspian, and Alora's the one taking care of Ellery, because Ellery still, breastfeeds and stuff and uses that to go to bed, whereas Caspian does not need that. So it ends up working out that way, that it's usually me with Caspian and Alora with Ellery. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's any hard and fast rule. It's just kind of more based on the need or what is practical in the moment.
There are some things where I feel like we've just naturally fallen into tasks that we do almost 100%. And so like cooking dinner every night, that's more me. If he cooked dinner, I feel like we might die. He cannot cook. I had him cook brats one time. First off, the house was smoky. It didn't catch on fire. It was just real smoky, and that brat was burnt. So it's just more of my natural talent to serve a good meal. And he's really good at mowing the lawn. Like if I mowed the lawn, it'd be very, very patchy. Advice on raising children biblically, teaching gratefulness, and how to teach them about money. A generic answer for all 3 of these different points is to lead by example. I believe that, leading by example is the biggest impact that you can have on your kids and really on anyone. But to kind of give down a more broken down answer for each one. So advice on raising children biblically.
Focusing on the biblical part, devotions is a good way to raise kids biblically. And again, just bringing it in naturally into conversations and stuff like that. Not forcing it, of course, but just bringing it in naturally. If kids have questions and things like that, having a biblical answer is helpful, which really means that you should also be someone who is getting into your own personal devotions so that you have the knowledge, at least a good working knowledge, to be able to give an answer to your kids when they ask those questions.
On to the next part, advice on teaching gratefulness.
I think just making sure that your kids at least have the basics first. So please and thank you, be teaching them how to be polite and that sort of thing is a good starting point, because then at that point your kids realize that, oh, this person doesn't have to give me this thing, or they don't have to take time to do this. This is something that they are choosing to do, and I should be thankful or grateful for them doing that. So I think that's like a little implicit way that you can teach gratefulness to your kids, is just basic manners, please and thank you and stuff like that.
And then advice on how to teach them about money. I know we've maybe mentioned this in previous videos, but including them in the budget is one way we're going to teach our kids about money. Really just bringing them into reality and showing them this is the cost of living for us. This is what this costs. This is how much it is for water and for food. Like, things aren't just free. And so we plan on incorporating them into our monthly budget. When they are a little bit older, I would like to teach them the concept of earning money by working. And so once they've earned that money, they can choose to either save it or spend it. And if they choose to spend it, I want them to actually go into the store, buy something with it, and like pay for it themselves. That's just something that I envision doing with the kids when they're a little bit older, and I feel like getting them involved in like actually doing it themselves is a great way to teach them about money. How much screen time do your kids watch? Since the summer months have begun, they definitely watch a little bit more. It's just some days it's just way too hot to go outside, and I just try to think of things to do. But I would say on like a normal typical day, the only screen time being given is during nap time, and that's for my toddler Caspian. It's because I just need something to distract him while I put Ellery down. So I would say like in our normal routine, that is around the time they get screen time. And then I know that he'll watch TV with them just before bed. And that's just something that he likes to do with the kids as well.
The one kid that actually likes screen time is Caspian. Ellery, I think, doesn't really care one way or the other. She just likes to dance to the little intro music and stuff like that. And that's pretty much what gets her happy. But Caspian is the one that's asking, watch. That's what he says when he wants to watch something on the TV. And he actually has his favorite shows and stuff like that he wants to watch. So it is a little bit more of a challenge now, whereas in the past, Caspian didn't care as much about screen time, and kind of just, if it was there, it was there. If it wasn't, it wasn't. And it didn't really matter that much to him. But now we're kind of getting into that phase where it actually is something that he likes to do, and we have to manage it a little bit more. I would say we haven't had a hard and fast rule about how much screen time per se. Just that it, obviously it wouldn't be the whole day or a huge chunk of the day. We try to get them to do other things as well besides just watching the screen the whole time.
Just know that we are not anti-screen time, but we also don't let our kids over-consume screens either. We try to find a balance.
When we're out and about and going to other places and stuff like that, he's not watching a screen. That's one way that we kind of counteract the screen time too, is we're not putting a screen in front of their faces everywhere, whether it be in the car and all that kind of stuff. We try to encourage Caspian to point out things when we're in the car, like, oh, there's a tractor, there's a big truck, there's a, and try to point those things out.
I don't want my kids to be in the habit of needing a screen everywhere we go, especially a handheld one. I'm trying to hold that off for as long as humanly possible. This will be the last question for this video, and the question is, what made you decide to do content creating and how did you learn? I think it might have been you or someone had asked me like, what's your hobby? What do you do like for fun? And at that time when the person asked me, Caspian was like just under a year old. I was a very fresh first-time mom. My whole life, like every minute was my child. And when they asked me that, I didn't have a single answer. Like, what do I enjoy? What do I do for myself? What are my hobbies? I didn't have a single answer. And it like really struck me, and it made me like ponder, like, what do I do for what do I do to fill my cup? Motherhood is super important to me, and that does fill my cup, but like, what's something I do for like just myself? And so it got me thinking, and at that time, Kyle was actually creating just like YouTube videos. It wasn't anything serious, just like things he wanted to put onto the internet for our kids to see later on in life. And it kind of like sparked that, I guess, curiosity of maybe dabbling into YouTube a little bit, because I've always enjoyed creating videos. When I was in high school and we had to do a project, I always did some sort of video. And then whenever our youth group would take a trip and I tried to video it and get all kinds of pictures, I would create a video as like the trip memory. And from that passion, actually our church recruited us to do video editing for them because they just saw that I was really good at making videos. I have a creative talent of being able to make fun videos. And so YouTube was a good outlet for that. And Kyle familiarized himself with YouTube because he was posting videos himself. I don't think most of those videos are public anymore, but with his YouTube knowledge and my creative talent, kind of mashing those two together, and also just my joy for motherhood, that's kind of when the idea of posting vlogs onto YouTube came about. Now, before I did that, I did pray about it, and I just basically said, Lord, like, if this is something that will be good for my family, that, is good, may you just open up the door. And so I asked Kyle about it. I asked my family about it. What do you think if I started a YouTube channel? And everyone was so incredibly supportive. And the most important thing was Kyle was supportive, like super on board. I'll be carrying around a camera and like talking on a camera and uploading these onto the internet for anyone and everyone to see. So like, I was really wanting his support the most, and he's been nothing but supportive with that. Obviously, he's literally in this video. And so that's kind of when creating content started to begin. I realized I needed something for myself because at that time, like, I really didn't have a hobby or anything like that. And so that's where that began. Now, in terms of how I learned, I'm pretty much self-taught for the most part. That is kind of my story in terms of that. It's been a blessing because I'm able to do something for myself, but also share things I'm really, really, really passionate about. So motherhood, marriage, grocery shopping, and budgeting, like things like that. I get to share it with the world, and that's been a lot of fun. I don't feel this pressure to feel like I have to make it a job because it is my hobby. This is what I enjoy doing. I don't want it to feel like a job because at that point it's not fun. And that wraps up this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button on your way out, and I'll see you guys in another video. Bye, friends.